Long-running shows now get defined by their endings, and a bad one can retroactively colour the perception of a series as a whole. That of The Sopranos was divisive, but the final hours of Lost and Game of Thrones had viewers pretending something they spent years enjoying had actually been rubbish all along. But no ending was so magnificently shocking as Byker Grove's. Byker Grove was a CBBC teen soap set in a Newcastle youth club, supervised by a man who looked like he ran a Victorian workhouse. There were a lot of episodes, with 344 in total from 1989 to 2006. 343 of those were relatively grounded, in that slightly clunky youth theatre way of exploring issues at 10 to 5 after school.
It's not your fault.
Look at him. This should never have happened.
I'm not surprised by you were knocking them back. What were you thinking?
I thought drinking was meant to be fun.
Byker covered all the usual topics: teenage romances, drugs, troubled but good kids from care homes, a running feud with the bad lads and lasses of rival club Denton Burn, what St Joseph's was to Grange Hill. Biggest controversy was when a boy kissed another boy on the cheek, which in 1994 naturally led to the Sun newspaper calling for Byker's producer to be sacked. But they weren't afraid to go dark, with a girl electrocuted by a faulty television, a kid crippled after falling from the roof, and killing off Jeff in a gas explosion, where his facial hair must have gone up like a fucking rocket. And then there was the paintball blinding of PJ, by far the show's most iconic moment. Incidentally, I once had a dream about touring the country's schools with an enormous oil painting of that scene. A dream so vivid, to this day, I have trouble separating it from my real memories.
He can't see, can he? Call an ambulance, Duncan. He can't see, man!
Like all soaps, there was occasional wackiness, but it never took a turn into outright fantasy, and that's what makes its ending all the more bamboozling. Like if EastEnders did an alien invasion story, Ian Beale forced to mate with a giant cockroach, and birthing a litter of hybrid space children right out of his arse. Up until the very end, Byker Grove was perfectly normal, and the penultimate couple of shows set up the Grove being sold off, in the classic evil property developer plot. But then came the finale, and like all who learn of it, I first assumed the description of its plot to be Wikipedia vandalism. Titled Deus Ex Machina in a papyrus font, we open by moving through a tableau of frozen characters, spilled milkshakes, juggling clubs and paper planes hanging mid-flight. Beginning a slew of cinematic nods, it's weirdly soundtracked by an instrumental cover of Gollum's song from The Two Towers.
It started.
What started? I can't move.
Of course you can't. They haven't written anything yet.
What are you on about? Who hasn't written what?
The people that make us do what we do, say what we say. We're not real. We're just characters in a story.
After 17 years of rote storylines about crushes, the cast of Byker Grove suddenly hit on the horrible truth. They're just characters in a television series. A series that's about to be cancelled by the unseen writer gods. The fact they're frozen because there's no script suggests this is their normal, between-show state, paused yet fully conscious, in the limbo which exists between the end credits of one episode and the start of the next. Poor PJ must have been silently screaming with paint in his eyes for days. They're now faced with that deepest of existential human horrors. Not just that nothing matters, but that nothing's real, them included.
So you mean all that rubbish stuff that's happened to me, it's just been some writer bloke making it up for a laugh?
I'm afraid so. I've always felt like there's been someone manipulating my life, pulling strings.
It's what we all secretly fear, that there's no free will, merely the playthings of an unseen creator. Sims dropped into ladderless swimming pools, God deleting our toilets while we stand knock-kneed.
I don't get any of this. How can we not be real? I mean, we're here, we exist.
Well, yeah, we do exist in a way, but then again, we don't.
I don't care what anybody says. I'm not the figment of someone's imagination.
But that's not all.
Come on. There's something you should see. I noticed that the cellar had gone last week.
Gone? Gone where?
I know, just gone. Vanished. We don't have a cellar anymore.
As the final credits creep closer, with them, an encroaching white void, slowly eating reality. Everyone handles the ultimate crisis differently. From religious mania.
We must get together and ask the Creator to show us mercy.
Oh, great and glorious scribe, don't abandon your creation in our hour of need.
Give it a rest, Candice Marie!
To pure nihilism.
Our lives at the Grove are over. Over.
One lad searches for meaning by frantically digging for Jeff's old time capsule.
Don't you see? If it's still there, it means all this is real. It's proof that we exist. It's got to be around here somewhere.
Others use the opportunity to make amends before it's too late.
What I want most in the world is for me and Kylie to be friends again.
Do you mean that?
Yeah, I want it more than anything. I've always regretted what happened with Scott.
There's even an all is lost suicide pact, the grenade in the air duct in Aliens, with a boy trying to convince the girl he fancies to take a romantic walk into oblivion.
What are you saying? That we go into Achilles' office and what? Disappear?
Yeah.
It's when the writers get in touch that things really go off the rails.
You have got to be kidding.
What's going on?
As it's the last episode, their story will soon be over.
Ended. What, you mean like... that's it? No more?
That's why the council are selling the place to the developers.
But the writers can't bring themselves to finish it, and want the characters to pen their own endings.
Ush, that's me stuffed.
This is seriously weird.
It's sick.
Write down what you want to happen, and it will. It may be our only chance to save the Grove.
We get to decide our own fate.
Write our own epitaph.
But be careful. It's the only paper we have, so use it wisely.
Given the power to shape their own destinies, some use it to get rich.
Jamie and Robert make it big, and I mean seriously wealthy. Hello? Who? Alan Sugar. We want to buy Jamrob Enterprises for 5 million quid. Deal.
5 million quid? Are you serious?
Or give themselves a dream job.
Yeah, well, I'll be in Milan by Friday morning for the shoot. Then I'm off to Paris for a few days chillaxing.
And like the pervert who'd use invisibility to skulk around changing rooms, others non-consensually indulge their incel desires.
Oh, and your husband's here.
Right, thanks, Eve. Sorry, my what?
Hello, my darling wife.
Kevin's my husband.
Of course I am, hot stuff.
This is ridiculous. Ugh. Who's doing this? This isn't what I wrote down.
But she writes her way out of it.
Kevin and Hayley are very much divorced.
Remember, this is a show which exists on the same level of reality as a Grange Hill or a Holby City, so it's pretty startling when this happens. Yeah, just a dinosaur in Byker Grove.
Wow, Tyrant Lizard King. T-Rex prowled around the grove in search of food.
And some zombie mummies.
The mummies get eaten by the T-Rex.
But you're always left with that problem. Once it's eaten the mummy, how do you get rid of the dinosaur you've summoned? Eventually, some realised they could be spending their wishes more meaningfully.
Come on, it was a laugh.
My sister's still missing. She ran away and I don't know if I'll ever see her again. Tony,
You alright, little brother?
don't you ever leave me like that again.
I won't.
But for most, it's just mad capitalism and lust, and that won't save the Grove.
Blonde, preferably Swedish.
No, you should all just be ashamed of yourselves.
Why?
I've never seen so much pure greed in all of my life. The Grove's still up for sale. The developers will buy it, and we'll cease to exist. Because that's how it ends. If we can outbid the developers, we can buy the place ourselves.
We can! Jamie, we've got 5 million quid.
Good plan, except the money's been eaten by the void.
So, everything that was in there has just vanished.
Having wasted it on Oscars and forcing kisses on girls who don't fancy them, the magic paper's now running low.
So, how much paper have you got left?
Just one piece.
Why don't we do what we always do? Hold a protest.
Well, it has always worked in the past.
Yeah, we could get all the old members down to come and support us.
It'd take too long tracking them all down.
Well, no it wouldn't, because we can just write them in.
Despite this line, and the power to do anything, none of the famous ex-Grovers show up, leaving us with anonymous extras. No Jill Halfpenny, no Jeff's ghost waving like Return of the Jedi. Even Ant and Dec couldn't be asked taking an afternoon off from force-feeding bowls of alligator clits to Dean Gaffney. Meanwhile, the kids read up on the history of the Grove and discover it was the hideout of an old-timey bank robber, whose convenient stash of loot was never found.
So all we have to do is dig it up?
I found something!
Maybe Ant and Dec have shown up after all.
Oh, great scribe, you have arrived. The answer to our prayers.
Stumpy,
What is going on? We bought the Grove.
get in!
Finding the money makes them masters of their own destiny, and everyone's learned something.
We've all been so caught up in thinking that the writer controls us, when all this time we just had to believe in ourselves.
Looks like it worked.
Everything's gonna be okay now.
The Grove is saved and nobody's going to die. But wait, there's one last piece of dramatic tension.
Mickey, what happened?
It's the gruesome twosome, man. We've got to stop them.
While everyone was busy freaking out, these little psychos were planting dynamite all over the club.
Is that in the right place, Elliot?
That's a load bound war, and that goes off, it'll bring the whole lot down with it.
Maximum destruction?
Excellent.
You two are absolutely mental.
Cueing a mad last-second dash, where they'll be stopped just in time.
Prime detonator!
Long live Byker Grove!
Oh. After 143 hours of television, the final shot of Byker Grove shows the place being blown up, ending on a blinding white light, some 3 years before Lost cliffhanger season finale the same way, It's implied, were the cast not exploded to bits, they've been lost to the void. Either way, every one of those kids is dead. Closing credits show a haunting montage of old favourites. Spuggy, PJ and Duncan, even Jeff's funeral, just to really emphasise how they've all been wiped from existence. Deus Ex Machina plays a lot lighter than it reads, with lots of record scratches and wacky sound effects, which somehow makes the whole thing even more disconcerting. Everything you've invested in was fake, and they're all dead, but it's silly and it doesn't matter. Current day internet fandom would have a field day with something so audaciously off-brand, but in those mid-noughties hinterlands between analogue and social media, Byker Grove's ending was lost to the cultural void. All these years on, we can now finally appreciate history's wildest ever series finale.